Here we go with another cartoon recap, and I'm kinda shocked that this is the next show, especially from Nickelodeons. But no matter how many times I asked you to pick Kim, you didn't do it. So instead we're talking about another banger, My Life as a Teenage Robot. And let's just get straight to the point, this show was killed by the station that aired it. However, for the 3 seasons that Teenage Robot had, it was pretty good. This show stars an unusual cast member, XJ9, also known as Jenny. And Jenny here has a dilemma that you've probably seen before. She's simply not like the other people that she goes to school with, even though she wants to be just like them because she wants to be a sheep. But instead, because she was created by her professor that simply does not care at all, she has another job such as fighting crime. And of course, Jenny struggles having to save the world fighting crime while also being a teenage girl. Look, I'm not going to say you guys have not seen this before, but at least they execute it very well. Jenny is a female protagonist that really carries the show by herself. Now, there are other characters I also want to mention since they're here. You have characters such as Brad or Tuck, who I believe they could have just smashed these two together. They act as a goofy best friend of Jenny who just brings out her wild side. That sounds kind of crazy, but I'm not talking about your favorite show. Then there's Sheldon, who also plays the similar role of being a best friend, but instead he really likes Jenny. He just kind of struggles conveying that to her, which I understand. I mean, it's a robot and she can probably kill you, so you don't want to take a shot. There's also other characters in the show, such as the Crust sisters, who you really don't care about. They're like the antagonists within the school world, but you don't really care about them because there's a bigger world out there that Jenny has to fight. Overall, I don't really mind the cast, and that includes Jenny's mom. However, you're clearly here for XJ9. Now, talking about the story, even though I've already made one reference, I have to do another. To me, Powerpuff Girls and Teenage Robot are very similar shows. However, when it comes to the aspect of fitting in, I have to give it to Teenage Robot. You see, all the monsters and creepy villains that show up to try to destroy the world really don't matter. Most of these villains never show up again after their first initial debut. So where are you getting most of your entertainment from? It's by watching XJ9 have to fit in. And personally, that's something that I like the most about this show. XJ9 has a lot of self-doubt and believes that she will never be able to fit in amongst the cast. And even though when something wrong goes happen, she's expected to go fly outside and save the world, that's not what she really wants to do at all. Matter of fact, within the first season, we're introduced to XJ9's sisters, XJ 1 through 8. And I like the fact that they all seem more like a robot than even XJ9 does. You see, Jenny sees them as her big sisters, however others, especially the creator, really sees them just a way to stop crime. And that's what's really sad about the series. I'd argue that her mother really struggles to see her more than a crime-fighting robot. And we even see Jenny shows more love and support for her brand new sisters than even her mother does. So Jenny's really caught up in a crazy world of she just wants to be normal and loved by everyone. And I think that's where other characters really struggle to figure out what Jenny is and how can they play off of who she is. I mean, there's an episode dedicated to Sheldon where he decides to order his own personal robot. And when I say personal, I think he had other intentions. Now, of course, at the end of the day, this is a cartoon show. They had to make her somehow turn bad and Jenny has to stop her. But it really plays on the fact that Sheldon doesn't fit in, and when he figured out that Jenny is somebody that supports him and he can't always have her, why not try to get something that's very similar to her? It's crazy because most of the characters have to morph who they are to fit into the world that Jenny now owns. But just to be clear, it's not Jenny's fault that the world's like this. It just so happens that the world is in a time of chaos and Jenny is the best version of what she is. It's similar to us always having computer intelligence and suddenly now we have ChatGPT. Jenny was simply made to stop crime, however, she is also a sentient being. Therefore, she's going to feel a certain type of way and have emotions when things happen.
Calm down. You're scaring me.
Great! Even you're scared of the freaky robot. Why can't I look like everyone else?
But of course, this is why you like a character such as Jenny. She'll spend as much time as possible using her powers to try to save others. And honestly, I don't feel like the human characters do enough for her. If you think about it, Jenny always wanted to be a character that fits in with the rest of the cast. As I mentioned before, she specifically wanted to be another sheep, a girl that simply just likes teenage boys. Unfortunately, majority of the time, the cast is taking advantage of the fact that she's a crime-fighting robot. For example, there was an episode at which Tuck decided that he is invincible. Just for clarity, at the beginning of the episode, he was very scared to go outside, assuming that he would probably die. However, Jenny, who didn't even have to do this, she's not even his brother, decided to help him through it. But at the same time, Tuck misunderstood what Jenny said and believed he was invincible. Now, it's pretty clear throughout the episode, you can see that Jenny was saving him, and I'm sure he also could tell. But Tuck chose to be walking fodder instead of just being normal. I mean, could you imagine if he was doing some of these stunts and Jenny was not around? It's kind of crazy to think about characters using who she is and just taking advantage of. But alas, Teenage Robot came to an end at a very quick pace. Now we should really point our fingers at multiple different factors here, but the first one we have to point out is Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon that chose to air Teenage Robot knew that they had a deadline to meet. So if you have other shows such as Avatar or Fairly Odd Parents, you know that the Teenage Robot show is gonna have competition. Those shows were obviously some of the biggest shows on Nickelodeon ever, so Teenage Robot needed to compete. But what are you supposed to do when your cast and lineup is not the same compared to those shows? I mean, the best you could really do is try to air that show more than others. Without me having to show it to you, just think about how many times you saw SpongeBob airing on Nickelodeon. The other option is to have more episodes constantly being pushed out, but Teenage Robot was barely getting one a month done. And there, I kind of blame the creators a little bit. I mean, you already knew that you have to fight against the odds to get this show to air. I mean, you have a female protagonist, which is already different from your core audience on Nick. The character is non-human, so therefore you have to do a little bit more. And plus, this character is the one that doesn't fit in. I mean, everybody wants to fit in somehow. So if you're gonna have all these factors against you and you're not putting out enough episodes, I mean, what's the point? It feels as if Teenage Robot did have a good premise and could have stood out even better than it actually did. And of course, after 3 seasons of content, they just decided we can't do this anymore and cut it off. This left a lot of people upset knowing there will not be a final conclusion to some of the arcs. And what's even more sad is there is no talk about a reboot or even a season 4 for the series. And plus, we currently live in an era where they love to do reboots. So if there is no talk at all about a continuation for the show, I'm sorry, but it's donezo. But alas, I cannot blame Jenny and her premise of the show as to why it failed. The show generally deserved better, and maybe it just came out at a very bad time for Nickelodeon. But the good news is we still all got to enjoy XJ9 and her story to at least a certain extent. And that's all you can really ask for, especially when everything wants to be aired on TV anyway. But for now, let me know what you think of the show Teenage Robot in the comments down below. And while you're on the nostalgia trip on this channel, why don't you go check out the Sonic X video over here. I'll see you guys over there. Thanks for all the love and support. Have a good one.